Good afternoon. My name's Bob Banerjee, and welcome to this session, State of the Academic Library, Results from the 2019 Academic Library Survey. This is a survey that we commissioned through the Library Journal over the summer of 2019. They gave us raw data back, and from that we created this report. Down at the bottom left, if you can't type in the bit.ly link to download the report, this is what the report looks like in hard copy. You can just Google that and it'll eventually come up with Google. The beautiful thing about this report is this, and it really sets the tone for what I'm going to do with you today. It is nothing more than a set of data. It's stats, it's facts. How you choose to interpret those facts completely depends on you, the individual, you, the institution. And so what we have here is two experts on stage that are going to help me interpret their version, their interpretation of the data. But what I'm going to ask you to do, and I personally hate PowerPoint, because PowerPoint tends to make us passive dummies as we observe, and we just get brainwashed with the information that's coming. Instead, what I'm going to ask you to do is, after they've presented their few seconds interpretation of the data that's being presented on the slide, I'd like to ask two people to present within 10 or 15 seconds their opinion, just a simple opinion. It can be pro, it can be in support of the data, it can be contrary based on your personal experiences. If we don't do that, we're going to miss half the value of this presentation. So what I don't want you to do is sit comfortably back and just let people present to you. I want to hear your opinions on the data that's presented. With that, I'm going to introduce my two guest speakers. First of all, Dr. Dennis Swanson.
I'm Dennis Swanson. I'm the Dean of Library Services at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. In my fourth year there, I was in another school in California for 24 years before that. I've been involved with different library things for probably nearly 30 years now.
Thank you. And Oren couldn't make it, so I sourced Shlomi, who's come all the way over from Israel to join us.
Hello, my name is Shlomi Kringle. I'm running the Learning and Research Solution with Exlibris. And just to explain a bit, learning and research is developing tools mainly for the library to increase the impact of the library within the learning environment, teaching and learning environment, and also on the research side to be much more involved and increase the impact of the research in the university. This is what I'm responsible for. I'm in Exlibris for 6 years. I'm in software development for almost 30. And happy to be here.
Thank you. And I'm Bob. That's me. So we'll just move straight on. So I'm going to do three things. I'm going to run through the methodology behind the survey. Then I'm going to run through about a dozen individual topics. That's where I'm going to ask you to jump in. And I don't think there'll be much need for Q&A afterwards, because frankly, we've only got 40 minutes anyway. But let's see what we can do. Why did we do it? We did it because Exlibris, a ProQuest company, we need to understand where academic libraries, where the dreams are, where the aspirations are, where the fears are, where the concerns are, because if we don't understand it at that level, we're out of touch. And so we instituted this. So what did we do? With Library Journal's help, we went out to, I think, 244 higher ed institutions, you can see over there, and half are dean or director level, but we had plenty of people from acquisitions, research and instruction, and a group of others. And there's much finer detail in the report. I'm going to run through this stuff right now. A little bit more information about the exact job function. Again, it's in the report. For you to read. No questions on that. By FTE, people were asking me, oh, is this just large institutions? Is it just small ones? Well, you can see that about 40% were smaller than 2,500, but a good, 30% are between 2,500 and 10,000. So a good mix of small, medium, and large, a fairly good representation of everyone. First slide, which I'm going to ask Dennis to touch on. Courtesy ARL, the chart on the left is one that you may be very familiar with. It charts the share of the library's budget, share of the university's budget that goes to the library over a 30-year period between 2019 and, no, hang on, what are the years? 30 years starting from 1982. Pretty dismal view. This is the share of the budget. So what it could mean is that the university's budget is increasing hugely and the libraries is staying still. It's not for me to judge what the cause of that is, but what I want to ask Dennis is why that chart on the left, how you would compare that against what the survey told us, which is, what are your expectations over the next 5 years? Do you think it'll shrink, which is orange? Do you think it'll stay the same? Or do you think it'll grow? To me, it looks like there's a little bit more optimism on the right-hand side than the left-hand side. Dennis?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm not sure that the respondents took into account that some of the demographic issues we're going to be facing were in a nationwide decline in college-age students entering the academy starting this year, and it's going to bottom out in about 2025 and then recover about 2027, 28. So if your institution is based largely on tuition dollars, I think it's going to be a problem going in that cycle. So, but otherwise, the optimism is, you know, perhaps misplaced or perhaps didn't realize that kind of data. I do think that most libraries are beginning now to make a more significant impact in terms of the institution. And some of the problem, I think, has been us as librarians, not justifying our own existence, sometimes not building bridges with faculty. And one of the things that we'll see later in the survey is that librarians think we're doing a great job of communicating with faculty, and about half that percentage of faculty think that we do a good job communicating with them. So there might be a little bit of disconnect in that regard. But in terms of budget challenges, it's also a trend nationally that academics as a whole is getting a smaller percentage of the overall university budget, depending on type of school and other issues. Administrative costs are going up, and more money is being put into what might be called non-academic things. And unfortunately, the library comes along with that. And in some places, it's seen as, well, why do we need books anymore? Why do we need all this space and buildings and things where it's all in Google, isn't it? You know, and you have that problem with administrators or even with finance people.
Thank you. So, somebody supporting that optimism. Just a 10-second quote from someone. You're all going to have to jump in at some point. In support of it, are you optimistic or are you pessimistic? Just 10 seconds. Yes, sir?
I would say our budget is increasing, but at the same time, our buying power is decreasing because the increase is not keeping up with the increase in the cost.
You could just walk right through it.
Or with the cost of personnel. So the answer is yes, but the impact is no.
Got it. Anyone with a more pessimistic view? Or was that pessimistic already? I'm not sure. I never can tell. A second view? No? All right, we'll move straight on. Oh, yes, I beg your pardon, sorry. I can't see over my laptop screen, it's too short.
So for the years I've been in librarianship, just before the internet, the number of journals in our A&Z database has grown exponentially. And with the same budgets, through consortiums, through database constructed, and with our e-book collections, the number of e-books. So it might be compared to what we have access to compared to 1982. So I'm getting a lot more for my dollars.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, then I asked a really simple question. If you could demonstrate that, hey, I'm the dean of the library or whoever, and if you give me this, I can achieve this. If I can prove and demonstrate that I can add increased value, does the respondent believe that they could justify additional budget? It's a simple question. And a few somewhat disagree, 20% are neutral, 40% somewhat agree, and 20% strongly agree.
I will take this. We are, we are looking at globally today, and first the budget pressure is globally. We don't see it only in North America. We see it all over. And one of the things that and I believe specifically that first the ability to show the value has come from the right tools. Meaning, I'm not talking about even specific tools, but the ability to measure, to analyze, and to show the impact of the library across the institution. And currently, when we are talking with some of the institutions, we see that they don't know what kind of, let's take the teaching and learning, they don't know what material are used in course readings, they don't even aware of. So the value that they bring is lowering when people do not understand where their material is used. So first, I think the issue is the tool. The second, and this is where we see some places that the budget is coming to the library and growth, is aligning to institutional goals, like affordable learning. And we met few universities that were part of bigger budget, part of the budget that the university got from the state level or from other places in order to improve or to be part of the affordable learning. And this is the place that they can get additional budget outside of the traditional library work. And I think, and we'll talk about it a bit later, there is a lot of impact the library can do on affordable learning. Also on open access, research impact, this is our part of the institutional goals that the library can be much more involved and get additional budget. And also, I think the last thing is the value for the end user or for the other stakeholder, the faculty themselves. And somebody already mentioned, I think Dennis, you mentioned, the disconnect between the faculty and the library. And this is a key in order to, again, show the value and get additional budget on that.
Thank you. Dennis?
Yeah, and some of the old things that librarians used to do, and I think some of the budget decreases have led to less staff, and we're doing more. And one of the things we did is reinstitute a general elective 3-unit course on library research and information skills. I thought it would be just a minor, we'll try it, a couple of sections. It turned out the first semester we filled out 6 sections, and the next semester 8. We've added a grad component of that. And we could double the sections if I had doubled the staff, and that's what I'm trying to demonstrate. One of the value added to that is in a very, very small sample size, so don't take this to the bank, or if you want to, you're minting this yourself, but we've shown so far that retention among the students who take this class, freshman to sophomore, we're retaining students at about a 10% higher rate than the rest of the institutional average. So is there a cause and effect? I'm not sure yet. I don't have enough data, but that's where it's trending. And so I think getting librarians back in the classroom and getting them out with students instead of in the offices and doing the stuff that we have to do anyway is a vital consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay, 2 speakers. At the back of the room.
Building on the instruction, one of the key institutional objectives is student success. So building on your comments on instruction, we had our Office of Institutional Research run the 4 to 6 year graduation rates on those students who took our Library 105 credit-bearing course. And they found that those students taking the course had a greater graduation rate than students who didn't take the course, even though many of those students who took the course entered with a lower SAT score than students who didn't take the course. So these are kinds of ways that you can support your institutional goals. Affordable learning we also have as well, but picking up on the instruction, that's another metric that you can run.
Thank you for your contribution. A counterpoint of view, someone looking at it from a different angle. Ma'am? Maybe if I could ask you to stand up so they can hear you. Sorry, we don't have the mic. Can you name one fact, just one random factor to make it real?
Well, the fact that a lot of departments purchase their own resources that they're particularly interested in, and so you can demonstrate that, that's an argument not to give that budget to the library students.
Got it, thank you. Moving on, departments. Who is leading the institution's affordable learning initiatives? This was surprising to me. What it shows is that from the 244 respondents, they say, and of course the respondents are librarians, they say that the library is leading the initiative, closely followed by the provost's office. I was surprised that it was that far. And we're going to have to keep it to 30 seconds or so for answer.
I wasn't in the sense that librarians, we see every day how much this costs, because we're usually stretching budgets as far as humanly possible, and understanding. I think we understand a little bit closer, even in the provost's office, that the materials for students are expensive, and we need to work towards freeing up some of that and making some of the learning more affordable.
We also not surprised, because we see and we believe that the library have the ability to impact the learning affordability more than other places in the university, because they know what the library owns and how to get it maybe in different prices, and their ability to demonstrate or to show to minimize the cost for the students. By the way, we saw, we have a few examples that we had with St. Thomas, Vanderbilt, Concordia, some institutions that work with the library to zero cost course material. It's a program that's going on in many institutions, OERs, in SUNYs. This is the places that the library leads the ability to reduce the cost of the material. By the way, if you look at the Ithaca SNR and the faculty survey that was published in April this year, you can see also that the faculty believe that the library can better support, or 70% of them believe that the library can support student affordability or learning affordability more than they do today.
Thank you, Shlomi. So an academic library here who believes that they are making moves to drive affordable learning? Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Mark McBride. I'm from the SUNY system. Thanks for the shout out, gentlemen. We've noticed in our OER services program that when the library plays that critical role of broker, thinking of community practice, that's where we're seeing those effective affordable learning programs being stood up across the university system. This goes all the way to our community colleges, our 500 students, all the way up to our research centers. Because I think libraries, they cut across all the units on an academic campus, and I agree that libraries have been priced out in the marketplace just as much as students have been priced out in the marketplace. But at the same time, most of us who have, let's say, textbook reserve programs, we've seen students wait hours and hours and hours just to get access to one textbook. So we understand the quality of that access and affordability.
Second, different point of view, ma'am.
The furthest part.
Issues grants to, so it's a grant application program, and so, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Eric.
So we have a grant application program that invites our faculty members on campus to develop open, online, alternative educational resources. And we've had a number of faculty develop something homegrown, and we also broker access to electronic tools that we already buy, and we help our faculty navigate those materials. And we've saved over, I think we're close to $1 million overall for students that the students didn't have to bear in textbook costs so far.
Much appreciated. Wonderful. In this question, don't lose your pieces of paper. Panelists, is it surprising that 78% of ARLs think that they should be doing more to support research? To me, that's quite surprising.
Surprising in what way? I think that and we'll see it later on. I think that the library can and not only in ARL, by the way, we see it across even from colleges that the library believe that they can support. If there is some research the library can support and should do more in supporting. We did another survey this year also on faculty side to understand from the researchers if they are, what are the services that they're getting from the library. Most of them, by the way, quite happy with what they get, but when you get into the details, they say that we are managing the APC, or the article process charges, we manage ourselves, we prepare the data, maybe the library can help us, but we are doing the data management plan, the DMPs ourselves. We sometimes also even deposit into the repository ourselves, but so there is a big opportunity for the libraries there to be much more involved and to reduce the burden, the administration burden from the researchers, and to focus more on research side than on administration.
Dennis?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by the results as much because I think the librarians, we know not only where things are, we know how to find things, and some of the researchers great in their fields of their particular studies, but in terms of gathering all the research together, occasionally they don't know where things are anymore. They knew where they were when they were PhD students, where things are, how the best way to find them, where the resources are. That's what we do. I mean, we're supposed to be up to date on those, and I think we can make their work make them more effective and efficient at what they're doing. And so I'm not surprised that librarians want to be more involved.
Thank you. Who would like to agree with this? Who would like to offer a different point of view? Yes, at the back, Matt.
I think one of the things we need to do as university libraries is get involved in the research process earlier. Instead of being reactionary, they decide on a project, what they're going to do, they come to us, we get them the materials. I'd like to have my librarians at the table when they're deciding on the project so we can feed them information at the very beginning, and it might steer that research project earlier rather than after the fact.
This is great. Any other points? Or we'll move straight on. Okay, let's hurry on. This is a really difficult chart. I'm not going to, whatever. It's a detailed chart. You can read it. If you download the PDF, you can zoom in on your little iPads or whatever. But the point is that the verticals are the different types of institutions, your ARLs, two-year colleges, and so on. And down the left are a list of mission statements. So we asked them, how important for you is this particular mission statement? Dark green means that that group thinks it's much more important. Lighter green means it's less important. So I asked my two panelists to pick one particular cell that struck them as a bit surprising.
Well, I guess the middle one is probably the most surprising to me, the one that says support the role of the institution in local and the global community, that even in ARL institutions, the librarians, only 71% thought that that was a moderately important thing to do. Down when you get to a master's level institution, only less than 60% thought that it was important for the library to, help support the cause of the institution in the local and global community. I found that one the most surprising and one that really needs to, if we're also arguing for more budget money and more resources and personnel, but at the same time, we don't think supporting the role of the institution in local and global community is all that important, we're going to run into pushback in terms of getting more allocations.
Very quickly.
Yeah, quickly one. I think that the one that a bit surprised me was the relatively high percentage of 70% of associated institutions that think that they should support more research. we were not looking at them as the research institution that the library is more involved. We thought more on the affordable learning, teaching and learning support. And I think this is something, again, also smaller institution and lightweight more, try to more to support the research activity, small research activity, and mainly to increase the impact of the institution and moving up the chain of the research.
Thank you. Is there one cell that anyone feels strongly about, passionately about, or angrily about? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have anything that I feel strongly about, but my question is this the researchers' idea of what they support or what their mission statement actually says?
It's what it actually said.
Yeah, so maybe we need to redo our mission statements. I mean, maybe we believe all of this, but our mission statements aren't really reflecting what we're actually thinking and doing.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to make you run like this, Eric. But thank you.
Thank you. Meredith Wilson, I'm from Rollins College. We're a small liberal arts college in Florida. I just want to push back on the 59.7%, so supporting the role of the institution. I am at one of those master's institutions, so had I completed this survey, I would be in that little cell, I suppose. I think, what have we spent most of this session talking about, right? Flattening budgets, doing more with less, staff retire, faculty retire, 2 positions are now merged into 1. My position is about 2 or 3 librarian positions in 1. I would love to spend my time thinking about how my library can be more engaged in the institutional role in the global community, but where is the bandwidth gonna come? Where are the resources gonna come to help me and my staff do that? So I think that might be an underlying piece of this.
Thank you. So we're at 3:58, and this ends at 4. What? Oh, okay. Yes, please.
Well, I sort of hate to go there, but on that previous slide, on some of those low numbers, you kind of have to compare them to some of the other categories, because a lot of institutions feel that split with, are we there to support our academic researchers, or are we there to teach? So if you see this one that says teach students research and information skills, it's at 100% for some of these ones, or close to, on these ones that have very low numbers on, support research. So if you go support research, it's 70% in the associates institutions, but it's 100% teach. So there's that split between, are we supporting the researchers or are we teaching the students, the undergrad?
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, boy. Okay. Hey, we've got all evening. We'll go out for dinner.
So with regard to the question about the support for the role of the institution in the local or global community, I almost wonder if perhaps that question was rephrased in a way that made it a candidate to be answered the wrong way, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of small colleges and local-based colleges that are heavily engaged in place-based learning, community service, service learning, and libraries support that. So it could be a question of phrasing.
It could well be. It could well be, and we'll have to revisit that. And I'm also doing several cuts of this data from different points of view. Okay, let's move on then. The importance of learning affordability by institution type. No surprises there, right?
No surprises, but I think that the ARL is a bit low, and I'm not sure it's because they don't care. I think it's part of it is because they don't believe that they can impact affordability. We work with few ARLs, and one of the things that they do not have any view, for example, for course specs. You ask libraries, what are the course specs that are used in your institution? Nobody knows. And then when they get it from different ways and they compare it to the holdings that they have or the subscription, they found out that some of the course specs, 80%, 90%, some of them all covered by the library. So I think part of it, again, maybe they are more focused on the research side, which makes sense on ARL, but I think it's also the ability to impact, or the tools to measure it.
Sure, and I think it's, for instance, we had a couple of courses, I just did some spot checking. Very expensive text required, which the library owned in e-resource for unlimited simultaneous use, and not a single class was using it. And so part of that is our fault for not broadcasting it. Some of it is the faculty's fault for not researching it and looking it up. And some of it is a connectivity issue. How would they accomplish some of that anyway? But I think there's more that we can do.
2 points of view very quickly. If you don't, I'm going to offer one for myself, because I've got a third year at Penn State and one hoping to get into CUNY Baruch. And for baccalaureates to say that only 55% of you care about learning affordability hurts me. I've only got 2 kidneys. I wish I had more. It's not a funny phase of my life, sending 2 kids through college.
So I think that the percentages there are also degree of awareness, because as a doctoral intensive ARL institution, I know that it's a lot easier to get economies of scale, and so it almost becomes more naturally to be cost effective, whereas comprehensive institutions that are squeezed in the sense of having small budgets but are in a higher pricing tier, there the efficiency becomes very difficult for libraries in those realms. And I'm wondering if these answers are reflecting extreme, the intensity of pressure points. How much of a pressure issue is this for these libraries and institutions to be affordable when they are so squeezed, but they're too small to achieve economies of scale? And I don't think that ARL institutions are the least caring about those issues. I think that there are the most suited to have economies of scale that enable them to be more affordable, and it's not hovering over those institutions as much as it is among the smallers that cannot get economies of scale.
Thank you. All right, let's move on swiftly then. I asked academic librarians whether their students use course packs, and 44% said yes, 36% said they didn't know. And the problem I have is, if you don't know, how can you impact it?
Right, and it's another, like I just was talking about, course packs are what we used to call in the dark ages reading syllabuses. You know, the idea that we have in the library now, especially in electronic resources, simultaneous usage of the materials, so there's no problem in terms of people using the material. And it's one thing to say, you know, we subscribe to X, Y, and Z databases and we have 60 or 70 million full text records available if they're not being used. And we haven't made them available or readily available for coursework.
And as I said before, the disconnection on the course specs is something that usually, course spec is usually done between the research, between the instructor, the professor, the faculty, and the bookstore. The library is not involved, and when the library is not involved, they don't know, and then the impact is very low. And this is thing that can be changed, again, I think with the tools and the awareness, in a way.
Okay.
I'd like to speak to that. I'm over here.
Oh, yes, sorry.
That came to our attention in my library, where we had a faculty who asked us to put a course pack on reserve, and we said we wouldn't do that, but would she give us permission to break apart that course pack and look and see how many of the resources that were included in that course pack being sold in the bookstore did we already have for free access. We found 90% was available on our databases for free, and the other 10% we could have easily purchased in E for the students. We created persistent links to those resources, and the faculty included it as a Blackboard resource on her course site. As a result of that experience, I had each of my selection librarians go down to the bookstore, and I set aside some money from the project that we're currently underway to examine how many courses have course packs, to purchase at least one course pack for their subject areas, and to break them apart and see how many of those resources we have for the purposes of building a better training exercise for faculty through our teaching and learning department, so that faculty know, don't make the students spend money. They're already aware of open access opportunities, but they're just not thinking about it in terms of course packs that they've been using for years.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, okay. Why not? It's just beer time we're using up.
I won't talk long, but I'd like to give Ex Libris a development opportunity. So as we talk about this, I'm with the College of Charleston. The South Carolina system is migrating to Alma Primo. The Georgia system is already there. We are D2L learning management systems. When we talk about course packs, they don't really exist for the library anymore because the faculty do their own thing in the learning management system. You have a great product, Leganto, get it to work with D2L. We can buy it and make it very easy for the faculty to add the library resources to their courses, and you as the parent won't have to pay so much for these resources for your students.
I'm sending my kid to College of Charleston right now. No more Baruch, no more CUNY or SUNY, whatever. Okay. Hey, don't take it personally. Come on. Whatever. Yeah, I skipped a slide and I hoped you wouldn't notice. I'm going over to this one because we've only got a few minutes left. The involvement of ARLs in the research. So we've done a bit on teaching and learning in general library. We're going to step into research. How do you think they're helping? Sorry, I'm reading the wrong notes. So what is this one? The graph on the left is showing is from a previous survey where they were asked, do you wish the library could play a stronger role, yes or no, and your impact on research. Over on the right-hand side is the apparent disconnect between the blue and the yellow side. The blue is what faculty expects of the library, and the yellow or orange is what the ARL libraries say that they're already doing. So for providing research impact, the libraries say we're already doing a lot more than the faculty believe, and depositing publications and data sets, the library believes they're doing so much more than the faculty perceives. And I don't understand why there would be such a disconnect between what I think I'm doing for you and what you think I'm doing for you.
I think that it's not so surprising, but first it's a matter of tools and holistic view, and maybe what you said before about getting into the process early in the stage of the DMP, and not leave it at this stage and to be part of the process, the entire process, the research process, and not only in few points. And I think this is one. The second thing, and there is a good session tomorrow on that, is the disconnection between the library and the VPRs. So we found some places that there is a good communication between the two, but there are some places that there is total disconnection between the VPRs on the research office to the library. And this is something, we have a very interesting session tomorrow that discuss this between VPRs and the libraries. And I think this is a key. If we want to make the library much more impactful, this communication needs to be improved or to be more common.
Thank you.
I know my former institution, PhD dissertations were not approved until the library had seen the prospectus and the initial research and signed off on it. So that may be wishful thinking in some places, but that was part of my way anyway, to get at the front end of it, so we were more involved in the research from the library perspective right up front.
Wonderful. Any input? 1.5 slides left. Let's get to those. Oh, the last slide, actually. So from the report, I pulled these three, and I'm hoping to get very different points of view on which top three you think. What I interpreted was that academic libraries, in general, the top opportunities for them are to further impact affordable learning, to support the research office, the researchers, the faculty, and to provide access to scholarly resources. And the graphs here show where the institutions currently thought they were involved versus how important they thought it was to the mission. Your take on the top three?
Yeah, I will do it shortly. I think that mainly we did the same surveys across the world, and we got the same results. So first, it's a common globally. Again, it won't be affordable learning. Affordable learning is more North America, but it will be supporting teaching and learning is one of them, supporting the research and access to scholarly scholarly material. That are the three in different ways between global libraries. And also, we as a vendor and looking, this is where we believe that we can contribute and to improve this area specifically.
Yeah, and I think it's also indicative. The survey results, you know, at least for me as a dean, it says, do we need to review the library mission? Is our library mission statement up to date with where a modern university is supposed to be? And take a look at those, and are we connecting to the university and the academic mission statements as well?
Okay, I'm going to ask down this side because you've been fairly quiet. You're the passive observers, but you're thinkers. Which top three am I missing? Which one of those should not be there and should be replaced by something from your perspective? Your very own personal perspective. An opportunity for the library to do more, to be greater than it currently is. You telling me I nailed it? No, I'm seeing a slight disagreement, sir. Yeah, third row here.
I would put there, I would break out online education. And I think that we can do more with online education, and we need to do more with online education. My institution has a significant online component. We do already pay a lot of attention to it. I think we could pay more, and that it would be very much in line with the institutional priorities.
Lovely. Missed that one. What else did I miss?
I would say closer collaboration with faculty, specifically around syllabus design and redesign and assignment design and redesign. We are actually starting a community of practice at my institution, trying to get our faculty away from assigning annotated bibliographies, because it seems to be the only assignment they know how to give our students. And we're arguing that we can assess, right, the same kind of competencies with perhaps other assignments.
Lovely. Another point of, this is the last slide. We have 40 seconds left. Ma'am?
This may not be directly related to that, but I think one thing that we're missing in a lot of this in terms of measuring the value of the libraries to the institution and to the research is that we're not really measuring the impact of the subscriptions that we subscribe to in the research that our faculty and students are putting out into the world. We don't have any metrics for that to show how much we are contributing by what we are reviewing and trialing and realizing are important for our collection development.
So is that not part of research support, or is this more about banging our own drums to say, hey, you know what, I've run the analytics, this is what we're doing?
I think we need to demonstrate that in terms of, what I noticed was one line where the faculty don't seem to realize how much we're doing, and that's because they go online and they think they're getting everything for free. They're disconnected from the source of that material that libraries spend a great deal of time on in terms of valuing them and making sure that they meet the needs of our research community. And a lot of databases, I'm a business librarian, I never see any measure anywhere in citation analysis or anything, for instance, of how many people used Bloomberg to get their data, and or something like that, which I think.
You would have thought the analytics was all there. It's just a case of having the right reports and running them frequently
Yeah, I
and
don't-
interpreting them.
I don't see anyone doing that.
Right, lovely. Thank you. And with that, again, you can download the report from there and digitally and just PDF and share it with your friends. With that, I'd like to thank Dr. Dennis Swanson and Shlomi Kringle and all of you for joining us today. Thank you very much.